Nancy here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my weekly deck reviews. I have to tell you, I'm kind of excited to be making a weekly deck review again now that I'm rotating my decks weekly again. So yeah, welcome back. I'm glad to be back. I like my routines and this is part of my routine. So I have made a slight change because I've shifted it to Saturdays instead of to Sundays so that I can do my tarot by the book on Sundays. But still, routine is important. So I have been working with this past week the Tarot of the Alchemical Magnum Opus by Robert M. Place and the Wild Unknown Archetypes Oracle by Kim Crayons. This is what the box looks like. Well, the inner box. There's also an outer box. There's also a guidebook. But I'm going to be diving into all this stuff, telling you how I've been doing. So let's recap. So I have decided for the next period of time to be working pretty much exclusively with the Marseille or Pip type decks that I have in my collection. So you're going to be seeing Marseille after Marseille or Pip deck after Pip deck for a while. But I wanted to bridge the gap a little bit, so I started off by working with the Tarot of the Alchemical Magnum Opus because, as some of you may know, all of January I worked with Robert M. Place's Alchemical Tarot, and I thought this would be a really nice kind of like bridge from my time with the Alchemical Tarot right into Pip style decks. So first of all, I mentioned this last week, it comes in the most glorious two-part slide top box. It's like a fabric kind of finish. It's a really nice box. It's probably one of the nicest tarot boxes I own, and I have to say, working with this deck all week, working with this box was so satisfying, and I know that probably makes me sound like the biggest geek ever, but it was so satisfying. So it has two little thumb holes so you can just slide the deck out, and there is a really great little white book, and these are the cards themselves. This is what the backs look like. They have a really mirrored gold gilding on them, which actually I was pretty aggressive with my shuffling with this deck this week and it held up pretty well. My copy does have an ever so slight bow from being rifle shuffled, again, fairly aggressively, but it's kind of funny because it rifles really beautifully. I'll show you. Well, you'll be able to hear because I can't do it in midair, but I'll show you what the mix looks like. Like it rifles beautifully. The cardstock is thin, it does bridge, but I found myself wanting to not bridge it and kind of to try to bend it the other way. So Robert styled these cards after sort of woodblock cuts. So that was the look he wanted. So he kept to a very limited color palette. He wanted a very sort of distilled essence of the cards. I did I was alerted to one mistake on the cards. The Hermit card in the guidebook, it's supposed to be Exaltation, E-X-A-L-T, Exaltation, but on the card it's actually Exultation, E-X-U-L. Let's see if I can show it to you here. And thank you to Eileen for that because she pointed it out on the comments of my video last week. I wouldn't have noticed it, I don't think, on my own. I don't know if it would have caught. Okay, it's gonna be, you guys, the last card. I will show you more images, but I just wanted to, now that I'm talking about it, Priest of Fire, where is this? Really? It is, it's gonna be, isn't that funny? Nope, can't find it, doesn't exist. There is no Hermit. I've somehow managed to overlook. Okay, I'm not gonna keep making you watch this. Okay, well anyway. The majors show, so Greater Disillusion for the Tower. So it shows the alchemical processes, and the pips still are kind of semi-scenic. The Priestess of Water, this is the Disillusion of Water. So you can see there's still the like sort of scenic nod. Coagulation for the Devil. Now I did put up this week a full side-by-side of this deck with the Alchemical Tarot, which I will link up in the cards for you guys because that will give you more card images. So if I don't see that dang Hermit, then you can find it there. But there is a slight typo, and I only discovered that because, as I said, Eileen pointed it out in the comments of my last video, and then I checked the guidebook, and then I googled the meaning of exaltation versus exultation. I was like, yeah, he clearly meant exaltation on the card, so that was a little bit of a thing that was noticed. I don't think it's going to bug me too much. I also did notice a couple of other little minor things in the guidebook. So the guidebook looks like this. You have like a short little bit on each card. I found this very comfortable and easy to work with, but I should preface that by saying this was really great to work with, gives you short, snappy references for each card, but it meant more to me. The smaller references meant more to me because I'd read the full guide, the full book, which I did not bring to show you guys because I showed it last week, but I think there's just a Roman numeral typo. Yeah, here it is. So we had the 9 of batons, and then it said the 9 of batons again. So I corrected it with a little pen and just scribbled it out. So it's been the 9 of batons and then the 10 of batons. So anyway, to work with and to read with, I enjoyed working with this in 3 card lines for every daily draw rather than just trying to work with a single card. Now I do think because this one has like the illustrated minors to a degree, like the 10 of swords, like that's clearly the 10 of swords with the nod with the skull and the sword through it. I feel like the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings on this one were super visible. So I feel like it would have been easy to just pick up and do a single card, but because I was trying to bridge myself over, sorry, I just had to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, because I was trying to bridge myself over from working with the Alchemical Tarot and with Rider-Waite-Smith, I wasn't sure if I was gonna need more cards in a line. I didn't, I don't think, but I did enjoy working with 3 cards and pulling the meaning together. And that also helped me work with things like directionality, and I found these to be, if you want a pip deck that is kind of cheating, this is a great one, especially if you're interested in alchemy, because I do think that the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings, like look at her face, like she's definitely concerned and worried, and her third eye area is very closed, like it's almost like her third eye is closed because she's in fear. I think the meanings of the cards come through really beautifully, even though they're very minimalist designs. I really enjoyed this, and I would actually venture to say in some part of me, I almost want to say I liked working with this more than the Alchemical Tarot, and maybe that's just because it was less busy, so I could really key in on the main message of the cards without looking for all the alchemical symbols and kind of overcomplicating it for myself. So I think it just kind of depends on my mood. I really like the depth and the breadth of the Alchemical Tarot, but this just, I felt this was like snappier, a little bit less overwhelming to work with, and it was just, it was really nice. So I really enjoyed working with this. Uh-oh, I threw a card. So I really had a good time. See, look, 5 of coins, and he's kind of got his hands outstretched, needing help. So you can kind of see, this is a really wonderful one to work with. Again, if you want to kind of see what you think about working with pips more aesthetically, but still having hints to Rider-Waite-Smith, this is a great crossover deck. So I really, really, really enjoyed it. Now I worked with it, beside it, what I would do is I would pull 3 cards in a line for my daily draw, like what do I need to know about the day ahead, what should I be focusing on, questions like that. And then I would work with a single Wild Unknown Archetypes card. These cards, now some of you, if you've been watching my channel a while, you probably know that I ultimately didn't end up getting along with the Wild Unknown Tarot or the Spirit Animal Oracle. I think that's what it's called, Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Oracle, the Animal Oracle one. They're both beautiful. I love the artwork. I just, overall, we didn't bond. And I love working with archetypes. Archetypes are my jam, and I had this deck on my wish list for a long time, and then I'm like, nope, I don't need it, I'm gonna take it off. And then it ended up back on, and you can see the whole story about how this deck ended up in my hands if you take a look at my first episode of Say Yes to the Deck. I will put a link to that up in the cards for you as well. But I ended up picking this up, and I have to say, I really like the artwork. I love the round cards. I love being able to work with directionality. I like the size of these. I like the cardstock. The only complaint I have is, and I'm still breaking them in, is that they're a little clumpy when you go to shuffle them because they're so smooth. Like they're a really smooth mat. They're really nice. But I really enjoy playing with these this week, and I really enjoyed just pulling a single card and sitting with that energy. And one of the things is that I read the entire introduction in the guidebook this last week, and one of the spreads in here that I really want to play with is called an Inner Quest. These cards break up into suits, and so you have I forget what the names of the suits are, but there's a who, where, with, what, and why, because you've got like main archetypes, you've got tools. I'm really bad at explaining this, but it lets you divide them into their suits and then draw a card from each suit and do a reading based on that, which I thought was really smart and a fun way to work with the deck. I haven't done it yet. The other thing that is on my to-do list is to try out Danny Mystic mentioned on her channel a really cool deep dive shadow spread, and she used this deck. in a really neat way. I really, really, really want to do that spread with this deck in particular. I did enjoy pulling an archetype card and really sitting with that energy, reading what the guidebook had to say about it. Okay, this was one of my draws this week, the Castle. And what I liked doing was doing what she suggested and doing like a Google image search or reading poems that are related, or like really diving into that archetype and pulling what you could from it. And it was a really cool way to work with different energies. The Vow. And I really dig the artwork. I thought the artwork was really gonna bug me. I have to admit the diamonds on the back feel it's kind of like a zoomed in of a diamond. It kind of feels a little grainy. Even these are kind of growing on me in a weird way. I don't know if I'm gonna edge these, but we will see. I'm going to be working with these longer, so I'm not going to change out this deck as I'm working with Marseille. I'm gonna continue to work with these beside my Marseille decks until I feel like my time with these are done, or until I'm ready to move back to Rider-Waite-Smith or other styles of decks. So these are gonna be with me for a while. I will continue to keep you posted about how they're working for me or any new insights I have with them, but I'm really enjoying it so far. And I feel like it's added something new and cool to my practice. So I'm really, really liking these. So let's talk about Untold Tarot by Caitlin Matthews. So this is one of the 2 Marseille decks that I'm gonna be diving into as I work with Marseille. This book I've read, but I need to revisit while I'm actively working with Marseille. This book, this last week, I got a little more than halfway finished with. Let's see, I'm on page 113 out of 224, so I'm basically exactly halfway. This is so good, and I was so scared because when I ordered this on Amazon, for some reason, I had it in my head that this was like a super thick book, like the Robert M. Place book thick. Like I thought it was gonna be 500 or 600 pages. And I was so relieved when this arrived. I was like, oh, thank goodness, because I did a lot of nonfiction reading last month when I was working with the Alchemical Tarot, and I wanted to read, but I didn't want to go so crazy. But some things that I'm excited about this is that, and I've marked some cool sections. So there's some things in here about pip number associations. So I've done some highlighting there. There's a really cool poem. I'm gonna just read this. Just bear with me. We're only 12 minutes in. I can do this. Okay. This is a mnemonic to help you remember the main themes of the cartomantic numbers. 1 shows the prime, what's beginning or new, strong, sure, and subtle to lead out what's true. 2 brings together a mutual pair, gifts and exchanges and partners who care. 3 is expansion and growing the shoots, abundance, dependence, and deepening roots. 4 brings authority, order, and name, door, bed, or building, a 4-sided frame. 5's what you grasp with your outstretching hand, your struggles and challenges, efforts to stand. 6 for community, together we meld, connections, resources, our circle to weld. 7 for chances and luck that we find, touchstones of healing, surprises behind. 8 for protection for all we achieve, changing adjustments and things to reweave. 9 for our dreams and our much wanted wishes, extremity, underachievement, and misses. 10 for attainment, completion, success, returning and ending, repairing the mess. How brilliant is that? Like this whole book for that poem, I'm like so down, because that is such a wonderful way. If you memorize that poem, I'm literally going to have to take a snapshot of it and put it in my tarot journal, or like write it in my tarot journal with my numerology stuff or something, because that is brilliant. And if that was the only bit I got out of this whole thing, it would still be worth it because that was so cool. There's also a bunch here that I'm kind of geeking out on as far as the major arcana goes, where we're really with the Marseille looking at directionality. So as an example, the Tower, the lightning bolt's coming from this side. So this book suggests that when the Tower shows an action, look to its right to see any warning signs about what might bring it on. And I was like, directionality in tarot? Like using the lines and like looking for where characters in the major arcana might be looking, where the court cards might be looking, I'm sure is where we're gonna get to with this too. That was such a cool thing that I hadn't really thought about with Rider-Waite-Smith, but I'm definitely going to be thinking about with Marseille. And I have to tell you, that's one of the things I'm the most excited about from this book. Now I still have more to read about. I'm still, I've read 2 sections on the minors. I'm in a 3rd section on the minors. And then I think we're gonna get into some spreads, and then I think quartz is last. I don't know where quartz is. They're somewhere in here. But I'm really enjoying this. It's a fast, easy read for me. I'm enjoying highlighting the crap out of it, and then I'll be jumping into this one next. I have a feeling that this open reading style, if I remember right, it's been a long time since I've looked at it, is kind of similar, but it's just more intuitive based. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing if some of that directionality stuff is in here, because I can't remember. Like, it didn't stick very well when I read this one the first time, but I feel like this one is also really memorable. I feel like both of these have a valid voice to offer, but I'm excited to kind of reread this from a different perspective. You know what I mean? You know how it is when you reread a book when you've read a different book and you're like, I get it now. That's kind of where I'm hoping I'm going to be with the Yoav Bendov book. But let's talk about what tarot deck I'm going to be working with next week, because next week I'm working with the Marseille Cat Tarot. And funny enough, this is the other deck that I ended up picking up, spoiler alert, as part of my first episode of Say Yes to the Deck. Now, I got this partly because it's a traditional looking Marseille as far as coloration goes, but it's got a little bit more shading, which I just find visually pleasing to look at. And even though it's the bold kind of reds and blues and yellows that, you know, I've seen in the Marseille before, it's cats, and it's anthropomorphic cats. And it's kind of funny, and it kind of makes me smile, but check it out. So we have our Fool with little mice, our Magician or our Juggler, and so on and so forth. This is so great. Like, this is great. It's very non-traditional, but the directionality should be there. The primary symbology appears like it's going to be there. I think I'm gonna have a fine time with this. Now, I can read this as a regular Marseille, but if I stumble, I've got like a little hint with this little cat in the center. Hopefully he comes through there. There we go. Of the sort of emotional complacency of the Rider-Waite-Smith Four of Cups. I don't have to read that if I don't want to, but it's there if I want to. Oh, I went right to another 4. But the quartz, I mean, the Marseille arrangements are in the pip, so that's fine. I just wanted something to kind of be fun and playful and sort of, you know, shake things up a bit. I don't know if I'll even like working with this. It might be that because it's trying too hard to be both a Marseille and kind of hints to the Rider-Waite-Smith, it's a bit of a cheater. The cardstock feels like a little bit on the thin, flimsy side, but it's fine. Like, it's like low Scarabeo, kind of old low Scarabeo cardstock. It doesn't feel like their newer stuff. Let's see how it shuffles. Oh, actually, it's not as flimsy as I thought it was going to feel on the shuffle. It shuffles sturdier. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes when you like go to shuffle a particularly thin deck, it feels like floppy. Oh, let's see if I can bridge this in the air. There we go. This one doesn't feel floppy. It feels like it's got like a core or something in there for sure. It doesn't feel like that slappy or floppy sound. Anyway, this one does have a little white book. I don't know how much I'm going to use this. We'll see, because it looks like there's only a little teeny section in English, but that's what it looks like. So yeah, I don't know if there's an author to the little white book. Oh, no. Translated by Studio RGE and Priscilla Lacer for Portuguese. The artwork for this deck, by the way, is Severino Beraldi. I wish that was on the... Oh, it is on the outside of the box, so it's right here. Here's the artwork credit right there. I really appreciate when publishers put it on the box. I get that the creator is a huge part of how this all goes together, but anyway, this is in a cute little tuck box, and Peggy made me a kitty cat Peggy bag for it, so I will keep it in that. I don't know why I don't have it in the Peggy bag right now. I pulled it out. Anyway, I'll let you guys know how this goes. And reading cloth wise, I have been working with this really beautiful one that Peggy made me this last week, but I only used this colorful side, and I don't know, I'm probably gonna still just work with this because I'm really liking it, and I'm loving the colors behind the more kind of basic tones of the Alchemical Tarot, like Magnum Opus, so I'll probably like this behind my Marseille as well. But there's also this really cute fox side. How pretty is that? Anyway, and she even put in the edging. She always does these beautiful embroideries, but look at this, like, don't show my face. I just want to make sure it shows up. I'm going to get myself out of the frame. I'm just ducking. I don't know if it shows, but it's like this really cool, almost like fox. Oh, I could have shown you on the lighter fabric. That would have made more sense. There you go. Anyway, it's really, really pretty. So I may use the fox side, we'll see, but I've been using the other side all week. So I'm excited. I'm excited to be playing with Marseille. I'm excited to be getting more comfortable with pips. And it's not going to be just traditional Marseille that I'm working with. I've got a playing card style pip deck that I'm going to be playing with. I have a non-Marseille arranged pip deck that I'll be working with that's kind of like a fun antique-y looking deck. So some other ones that are coming up. Keep your eyes peeled. I would love to hear down below what you have been working with. So drop that in the comments down below. Let me know if you're liking what you've been playing with, if you're fiending after something new, or what you think about any of the decks or books that I've shown. I'd love to hear your guys' perspectives. It's really great. It's one of my favorite parts about making videos. And remember that if you want to book a reading with me, you can do that at supportivetarot.com. The link for that is in the description box down below. And remember to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!